This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Hey, this is Bob Camp, co-creator of The Ren and Stimpy Show, and you're listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live.
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course so my haters tempt me. Beat the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's A.C.M.G. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the Prime Show. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. Folks, we have unintentionally a Batman-filled episode this week. I didn't get a chance to see John Wick. I was just way too tired after the weekend. I went going to see NXT, WWE's better brand of wrestling this Friday and had a great time over there at the Fillmore, which is right next to the Punchline Cafe where I got to see Wanda Sykes a while back. And it was great. I love the venue. The venue had a very intimate setting. Shout out to everybody in the Fillmore. They did a great job housing a whole bunch of people, both reserved seating and standalone. Great place. There was tons of bars to go to. Their food, they catered to you as you were sitting. I loved it. And then furthermore, the NXT brand itself, we didn't know who was going to be wrestling in this card. And that's the crazy part. This brand is so great at what they do as far as wrestling and putting on a great show. I don't think anybody cared or questioned who was going to be on the show. We just knew that we were going to get a great quality show, and that we did. Headlined by Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream and who was it? Matt Riddle, former UFC star Matt Riddle, and they had a great main event, a very fun main event. I got to see Kushida from New Japan Pro Wrestling, who's now in NXT for the first time ever live. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Along with Io Shirai and all that. I had a great time. But over the weekend, I just had so much going on and there was so much to do. I wanted to make it yesterday, but I was just so tired. I could not make it to the movies. I think I'm going to go see John Wick 3 probably tomorrow or Tuesday. It's going to be a great week of weather here in Philadelphia, so no doubt. But this week, fair or not, I do have a review. I'm going to be reviewing Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which just came out for WB Animation in collaboration with Nickelodeon. And there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to definitely talk about this thing based on the actual comic from DC Comics and IDW Publishing. They decided to do an animated movie for this. And we're going to talk about what my thoughts on that and more later on in our talk topic. But unbeknownst to me this week, there's a ton of Batman-related news this week. Most of it, which I'm going to be talking about, is Batman-related. It's crazy. Like, I only have one thing that's not Batman-related this week that I'm going to be talking about. But if you're a Batman fan, this episode is for you, pretty much. So let's not waste any time, folks. Let's find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G., which is going to be Batman. So let's do it.
And now, it's time to find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
All right, folks, so let's start with the biggest Batman-related news right now, and that is everybody's uproar or craze about the possibility of Twilight's Robert Pattinson becoming Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. Reports have gone out and said that he is most likely in the running and the head of the running to play the role of Batman. And when this news got out, of course, you always have fans who, especially online, who always look before and react before they actually thoroughly watch what they see. So a lot of people pretty much thought that he's an automatic pick. In fact, he is not yet, but reports are saying that he is most likely to be the one that WB picks to play the role of Batman, to don the cape and cowl of the Dark Knight. And there is another actor that's also in the running too, and that is X-Men's Nicholas Hoult, who played Beast in the younger Beast, in the roles of Apocalypse and Days of Future Past and all the other new versions of the X-Men that you got to see where he played it. I thought I liked it. I like that character. I like that actor. And without the makeup, he actually can really look like the role of Bruce Wayne. I think he would be a pretty damn good role. I liked his role as Beast. He's done a great job with that. It's probably one of the most favorite roles that I like about that those movies is his portrayal in there. And I think he would do really well in that. I honestly, admittedly, have never watched or had any desire to watch a Twilight movie. It doesn't have anything to do with the actors' portrayals of it. It's just when I saw the trailer and in the trailers, and it just felt like something that was just not my type of speed. This was during the vampire era too, so True Blood was more of my kick, for my type of vampire genre or lore. And that one was a little bit more geared for, Twilight came off like it was more geared for a younger teen demographic. So, which is funny because it's like way more teen-like than the CW is. CW is like just in between that of like a True Blood or, the Twilight. It's like right in the middle of that. That's how their shows are. And I just never got down on it. So I don't know exactly. In fact, I've never seen any movie with Robert Pattinson at all. So I can't really give my true thoughts on whether he's a good role. If I'm just drawing the inference just by the way he looks and how he carries himself outside of the studio from interviews and such, he kind of does have the Bruce Wayne aura around him, in my opinion. That's just based on what I saw. I have not seen his acting skills. I cannot say on that, and it's far be it for me to say whether he's good or not. I'm just looking from a visual perspective. That's what I see, and he looks like a Wayne. He looks like he could be a Wayne. Maybe not so pale, perhaps, but he does look like the Wayne. He has the hair, he has the look, he has the charisma, and the swag, at least, of a Bruce Wayne. So I can easily see him, and if he bulks up, I think he will really turn it up. So, and again, same with Nicholas Hoult. I think Nicholas Hoult will actually play a very good Bruce Wayne. I have seen his portrayal, so we'll see. As a result of this announcement, there has been a petition, another petition, of course. You got the Game of Thrones petition out right now. Now you have the actual petition for the disapproval of Pattinson and telling WB not to use him as Batman because people don't want to see it. I think it went up to almost 1 million at this point. And same with Game of Thrones. I think that's already at 1 million right now because people wanted to actually them to do a whole nother season. Okay, idiots. Let me tell you something. Why is it that we're using petitions for the wrong reasons these days? Everybody wants to petition. Most petitions that are signed these days are mostly petitions for fan base related things. It's never about trying to change the world or change the way we do or change laws or whatever like that. How many of those we get talked about in current events or social media? None. There is so much more about what people want to see on TV or what people, because I don't know if it's because people feel that that's the last bit of control they have in their life that society is allowing or not. I don't know, but it just seems like crazy. And then after the Sonic the Hedgehog situation, people feel like now they got a voice and we're going to voice our opinion. Can we just use that for other things that's going on in the country? And not only that, if you're going to change.org, that sucks, because the minute that you sign up to that, they're going to bombard you with a ton of different emails asking you to sign another petition for another thing. And that gets overwhelming. I would even probably, I was signing some of those petitions out there at a point, and then I started getting all these crazy amounts of emails. And I'm like, no, this is not worth it. This is not worth it. I'll find another way to voice my opinion somehow, some way without doing that. But this is crazy. I've heard that people had a really big disdain for Game of Thrones this season. And it's funny too, because some people were trying to, ever since Endgame came out and Game of Thrones came out with their thing, and there was always been a comparison to it. People still say Endgame was the better one, but there were some people who were trying to, shade Endgames, and then all of a sudden we see all these debacles and mess ups and mishaps from Game of Thrones, and it's like, that's karma, man. But nonetheless, I have not seen this season at all, but I can definitely say, for them to redo an entire season, do you know how much money it takes to get one episode in? I bet you everybody who signed that petition are shooting first and asking questions later, or not asking questions at all. It costs a few $1 million to put an episode together. CGI and all. The budget that they're using to make this series, which is funny because now they're, with all that money that they're spending on doing the show, at the same time I can understand why fans are angry, because you see a coffee cup on the table, or you see possibly some Yeezys on in one of the Warriors, possibly, or the hand of one of the characters that's supposed to be amputated. There's a lot of things going on there. It's a lot going on there that, for that much money, for that, all that work that you've done, you now starting to, mess up multiple times. I can totally understand it. But at the same time, it costs millions per episode to get done. And each episode is almost like a movie. It's produced like a movie, It's hard because it's like you can't blame fans, but at the same time, fans got to understand it's happened. You just got to blame the production crew behind all of these mishaps and these righty snafus that you guys are having. I mean, it's not to say that you guys can't be angry, but some of the demands are just ludicrous. I mean, if you really are a fan, I'm saying this right now, if you truly are a fan and you really want them to redo it, do what everybody else doing. Go to GoFundMe, crowdfund it, Kickstarter it, whatever. And guarantee when you see the amount that they need to make per episode, yeah, you're going to just settle. And you're just going to have to deal with it like it's the end of Seinfeld. Which, by the way, I actually like the end of Seinfeld because after watching it a few times, it makes all damn sense. Maybe this will for you guys too. We'll see. But I digress. The Twilight looks like we wasn't all Batman related anyway. But, just to have somebody sign a petition doesn't mean it's all going to work. And here's the thing. When it comes to, hating on Robert Pattinson and stuff like that, we constantly make this mistake of always prejudging somebody before they perform. This all started way back when Michael Keaton played Batman, I believe, in '89. And people were like, the guy from Night Shift, from Mr. Mom, how the hell is he going to play Batman? And this is before social media. This is before the internet. This is literally before the internet even came about. People were somehow, some way, word got out that people were not trying to hear that, he can play Batman. And were we ever so wrong? Because he wound up nowadays becoming one of the best Batman actors ever. Portrayal, whether Batman or he set the tone for Christian Bale and Val Kilmer and George Clooney, who never did, none of them except for Christian Bale ever really lived up. Only Christian Bale lived up to the Batman, moniker. The other guys did not. But and Ben Affleck to some extent, I give credit to him. He did pretty good with his portrayal, I believe, in my opinion. And people just judged him wrong. Hugh Jackman. Nobody knew who the hell Hugh Jackman was, but was just wondering who the hell Hugh Jackman was. And when we finally got to see a picture of Hugh Jackman, everybody shut the hell up. Because when they saw what he looks like with the hair and everything, everybody immediately shut the hell up. And I was like, okay, now I want to see X-Men. Now I want to see this. And you got to know, when X-Men came out, that was during a time when people were so tired of seeing bad movies. And all of a sudden, Blade comes out and finally puts everything into gear. And then X-Men came out, and it was like, okay, we got one great comic book movie. Now we got a big, franchise out in X-Men. And people were like, was this going to be good? And the big focus was, who's going to play Wolverine? Because Wolverine needs to be short. Wolverine needs to be this. Wolverine needs to be that. And then all of a sudden, we got a guy named Hugh Jackman who nobody ever heard of at the time. Much like nobody ever heard of Harrison Ford at the time when Star Wars came out to play Han Solo. Nor do we know who the hell Han Solo was. And then all of a sudden, we see a picture in magazines of Hugh Jackman. Shut everybody the hell up. And then we saw the movie and just saw his portrayal. And then we saw trailers and we got immediately hyped. And then all of a sudden, we're not supposed to remember that we were downing and prejudging everything before. That's what always happens. People prejudge a situation, then they see it happen, and then all of a sudden, it turns out to be actually good. And then all of a sudden, people all of a sudden erase the history of them berating this. And only a few admit that they were wrong. Only a few. So, I don't know about Robert Pattinson's acting chops, but if they choose him, I'm leaving it open. Because how one person portrays one character doesn't exactly mean that they're going to do the same. I'm still waiting on Chris Klein to really turn it over for me. He hasn't done it yet. I think American Pie was probably the best thing he's ever done thus far. And then he played Charlie Nash on The Legend of Chun-Li, and he just became so cheesy and campy. And then he's like on The Flash this season, and oh god, it is so torturous to hear him. It's just I don't understand what's the need to cast that dude. So I get people's disdain. I know how Chris Klein is. I have my opinion against Chris Klein's acting portrayal. Maybe that's the same way with Robert Pattinson, but we'll see. Maybe this is the turnaround for him. Some people, they just have to find their niche. Who knows? This might be his niche. We'll see. So let's move on to some other Batman news, and that is the full trailer of Batwoman coming to the CW this fall. We finally get to see a beautiful 3-minute trailer of what we're going to expect from the torch being passed from Arrow. If you guys don't realize, Arrow technically is officially dead as a result of the season finale, which the Monitor has taken him away, and Felicity for that matter, and leading off to what is to believe to be Crisis on Infinite Earth, the prelude to that. But the Monitor has stated that he's going to die. It's inevitable that he's going to die. If you watch Elsewhere, when this all started, Batwoman, played by Ruby Rose, the lovely, lovely Ruby Rose from Orange is the New Black and other movies lately, she's portraying the role of Kate Kane, so she's going to be donning the role, and it was a great first impression of her on there. It was fantastic, actually. And you knew this was coming. We already knew this was coming. We saw the trailer a couple weeks ago on Riverdale, the little teaser. Now this is the full one, and the full version shows us a lot here. A new company named Carvis Security is looking to bring order to Gotham. A woman in front of City Hall, who appears to be the mayor, announcing that Batman has given up on Gotham and that he is not coming back. A new villain appears on screen threatening the people of Gotham. A cop named Sophie Morris, I believe that's the name of that I heard, Morris, has been taken away by some thugs. Sophie happens to be the love interest of Kate Kane. Bruce Wayne, who just happens to be Bruce Wayne's cousin, played by Ruby Rose. If you guys have never read the comics before or even seen the animated movie with Batwoman in there, she is the cousin of Bruce Wayne. She also becomes a gun-toting Batwoman, which is like the total opposite of any philosophy that we know of Batman, because he doesn't believe in guns. At least the comic book Earth 1 version, I guess, of it doesn't do it. So we also have that, but A woman then contacts Kate and informs her that Sophie is missing. We then see Kate talk to her father, who is also a cop himself, about working with him to find Sophie. He declines that offer, of course. They also show Kate having memories of when her and Sophie met in the army, and they kind of fell in love for the first time. With what I'm going to believe is a sergeant of sorts, reprimanding them for their relationship. So I see this is going to be a lot of anti-gay messages and innuendos or stuff in there or going on in there. So we later see Kate go into enemy territory to find Sophie, only to find trouble, which she immediately handles by kicking all their asses in there at the meantime. She does eventually gets captured by the new villain, who is yet to be revealed as to who this person is, and she then retaliates against Kate by slapping her in the face with a large cricket paddle. If you don't know what cricket is, it's sort of like a baseballist game where they don't have a wooden bat, they have a wooden paddle, and it's probably just as thick as a bat, but it's flat, like a actual rowing pedal, but it's all wood. So imagine getting hit with a bat alone, let alone a cricket paddle. It's a different type of hurt. You gotta have a bruise that's probably gonna, if you hit it right, you're gonna smash a jaw or a whole bunch of parts of bones in your skull from that. It's not a light object, So that's what it seems like. She then apparently, where are my notes at here? Yeah, Kate then travels to the defunct Wayne Tower to search for the Batcave, in which she is stopped by a man who claims to be Wayne's security. Kate explains to him that she is Bruce's cousin and continues to open a secret entrance that she is not supposed to know about, but she does. Kate enters the Batcave and sees everything, that the Batmobile, the Batman's costume, cape and cowl and such. She then asks the gentleman, who I have reason to believe may be Lucius Fox's son, who also kind of plays a character in the books named Nightwing, which is also the name of the jet, and they do make fun of that in the animated movie, which is hilarious. But yeah, it looks like this could be Lucius Fox's son, and she asked him to modify the bat suit for her. So we didn't see Kate in the early version of a Batman suit, which she's trying to take down the villain who has Sophie captured. And it looks like she may have, that part they don't show, so we don't know what the fate of Sophie is in this, so that's what we're going to see this fall. Then it looks like she has taken down the enemies of with the citizens of Gotham seeing her, and they believe that she is Batman because she's from the top of a mountain, and they got just a faraway shot of her with the light beaming on her, which looks like from afar it could be Batman. She doesn't have the red hair wig on at the time. So the last part of these trailers shows Kate says that Gotham thinks that she's Batman, and she doesn't want any man to take credit for a woman. And that's where it goes off from there. And it just announces that it'll be in this fall. I am looking forward to this. I believe this will be possibly the new flagship show for the CW universe. That is going to be interesting. This is what I think. They're passing the baton from Stephen Amell to Ruby Rose, and I think this is extremely appropriate. I think Stephen Amell and the cast of Arrow has done a ton of great work on that show, and I am so psyched for this. This looks absolutely good. She looks fantastic. She looks the role. Just looking at this trailer, you can tell how comfortable she is playing this role and how important it is to be in this role. And I remember she was on I don't know if it was Jimmy Kimmel or one of those shows, or Jimmy Fallon or whatever. No, it might have been Jimmy Fallon, which, when they were talking about her playing this role, she actually cried because she understood how important this was for people, and especially for women and little girls that will be now seeing her in this light. And I'm glad she said that, because it is, once you play this type of role, and especially in this day and age when we want to see people that we inspire, no matter whether it's a real person or not, if you're, going over a storyline based on a character that is supposed to represent good in life, you kind of look for that. People have been inspired many a times. Ronda Rousey has been inspired by Goku, for God's sake. Her training was inspired by Goku. I mean, There you go. You just need some type of inspiration of some sorts to get out there. And she understands that. And I love that. And I wish her well. And I'm looking forward to seeing this season, this new show. I think it's going to turn everything around, especially after Crisis on Infinite Earth, because of the fact that she is not only playing Batwoman in Gotham, that Gotham is in a whole nother universe. It's in a whole nother Earth. So many people have reason to believe that when Crisis on Infinite Earth comes out, that that event will actually merge all of these worlds together. Supergirl's Earth, or with did they ever? Yeah, they did. They actually. Oh wait, if I remember correctly, yeah. Oh, I forgot. I just realized. If I remember correctly, her Earth is in the same Earth as Kara. So they're in the same area. So that's all in the Supergirl universe. Just based on what I remember from Elseworld. So they didn't. I don't believe they traveled to a new Earth to do it. They traveled. Flash and them traveled over to Kara's world, and then they ended up going to Gotham there. So I believe that she's within the Supergirl universe. But even still, I do believe that they're going to try to merge all of these worlds together somehow, so they all can team up on a normal basis, and that will be very interesting. But I'm looking very forward to seeing that. I think it's going to be a big hit. It's going to be a majorly big hit. This is possibly could be CW's biggest series to date. So looking very forward to that. One more Batman set of news. This is not the only Batman trailer that came out. This week we also had Batman Hush, the much long-awaited animated movie that people have been dying for, based on the Batman series by Jim Lee. We get to see this come into motion now. We see Batman and Catwoman running in a rooftop. Poison Ivy asks Selina whether Batman is her new boy toy, only to reveal that she has her own in the form of Superman, who looks like to be under Ivy's toxic spell. After Batman and Catwoman take out Ivy, she informs that compromising Superman was the plan of a man named Hush. Batman discovers Hush has devised plans that included Superman and many of Gotham's most dangerous villains. We see Batman trying to track down Hush, only to be a step behind him, which is rare for Batman. Catwoman embraces Batman, telling him tick-tock, the trail is going cold. Hush says that things just keeps getting better as he shoots Batman's grappling line as he is swinging above Gotham. The movie will come out later on Blu-ray and DVD this summer. I am looking forward to this. I gotta admit, I have Hush. I have not ever finished that book at all, and I know it's a heavy favorite of people in the comic book world. And I'm looking very much forward to watching this as well. So stay tuned for that. It's coming out this summer. This summer is going to be ridiculously full of comic book fandom. Trust me on that. So last bit of news I have is not Batman related. This is the other only Batman related news I have. And this is Marvel. We're going back to Marvel. This is something I've been saying for a long time. I'm sure other people have probably said this as well. Kevin Feige confirmed Mandarin is going to return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I knew this all along, and it was like, this is something that they have kind of really teased far back a long time ago. In the second phase of Marvel, they teased this. And you guys remember, this has all happened during Iron Man 3 era. So it was one of the biggest disappointing things about the 11 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because people wanted to see the Mandarin myself included. I was disappointed. I wasn't upset of the whole thing, because it was almost, fans treated this the same way that they treated the Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, whereas they enjoyed the movie up until the point that Galactus did not show his face and all you saw was a cloud. And then furthermore, for some reason, for some people, it ruined everybody's experience. So this is kind of the same thing. You saw Ben Kingsley portray a hell of a role as the Mandarin, and then all of a sudden, he's this guy named Trevor Slattery. You know, who pretending to be the Mandarin. And it was crazy because Ben Kingsley's portrayal of the Mandarin was so menacing. that it really felt a force to your heart that this dude was going to wreak havoc, almost to a Thanos level at the time. And then come to find out, like, April Fool's, pretty much. It was like, no, this is not it. So that was a big disappointment. But later on, a one-shot movie called All Hail the King came out, which then, continues the aftermath of what happened to Trevor, a.k.a., the quote-unquote Mandarin by Ben Kingsley. And he's in the, I forgot what jail cell that was, because it's the same jail cell that the Punisher and Wilson Fisk wind up being in as well. So that's how they connected Daredevil to this. But he's in there, and then all of a sudden he's getting interviewed by a guy who also informs him that the real Mandarin is out there and the 10 rings are real, which also the 10 rings is based on Iron Man 1 as well, if you guys remember that. But so they've been leaking this whole thing for quite some time, and now, based on a stated quote from Kevin Feige after a Reddit session, somebody asked him were they're ever going to continue the 10 Rings organization and the Mandarin, and he just immediately said yes, it's coming. Now, of course, with that said, a lot of people, I can totally understand this. A lot of people are actually wondering, like, why now? Why not when Tony Stark was alive? Why wait till, like, that was Tony Stark's biggest, most treacherous enemy. Like, that was like his version of Doc Ock for Spider-Man. That was his dude. That was like Reed Richards. He's like Reed Richards or should I say Dr. Doom to his Reed Richards, pretty much. That's how big of a threat this guy is. So a Mandarin coming with no Iron Man, that's going to be interesting. And that's going to wonder who's going to dom the suit, who's going to be the one. And it's not to say that Mandarin hasn't faced other, superheroes throughout the history of Marvel. He absolutely has. The problem is that we wanted to see the confrontation before, the confrontation of the Mandarin and Tony Stark, because that's where it all began. That's the source of it. So how he's going to come back and who he's going to be facing is going to be really interesting, and how they're going to implement the actual 10 rings. If you guys don't know, the 10 rings belonging to Mandarin is kind of like the Infinity Gauntlet light. They were alien rings with alien gems that possesses power. Each of them possess a different particular power. Kind of similar to the Infinity Gauntlet, but not exactly in the godlike level that they portrayed the Gauntlet gems, or the Infinity Gems for that matter. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very interesting how they, implement this in, and who's going to be the one to face them. It's definitely not. It's not going to be Pepper Potts. I can tell you that. He has a daughter. Who knows what the hell's going to happen with the daughter growing up? I don't know we don't know at this point if Riri is going to be the one. Could be Spider-Man, for God's sake, if they choose to keep Spider-Man in and wind up, holding it. Because, like I said, the storyline with Spider-Man right now is that they're making it seem like they're grooming him to be the new Tony Stark of that universe. I don't know how much that's going to play in with the fact that this is reportedly possibly the last Spider-Man movie that Marvel Studios is going to be able to produce. So I don't know. I pray that it is not. I need Sony to, be smart and just take the money. Just take the money. Take the box office money that you guys agreed upon, because they need to keep using this character. They need to keep using Tom Holland. I feel like in the hands of anybody else, it's going to go wrong. And I know Sony has done really well with the animated version of Spider-Man with Miles Morales. I think they should continue to still do that. Leave it alone. Just leave it the hell alone from there. So we will see. But he's coming. They didn't say when. They didn't say where. He's coming. It'd be funny if he comes in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, which would still be awesome, because I don't know what direction they're going, but they're going in an interesting direction too with this supposedly not Phil Coulson, but is Phil Coulson type of situation. I don't know. I'm loving the second episode of the new season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far. Hasn't disappointed yet. A lot of things, a lot of questions to be answered this season. So we will see. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it on what's new in the world of A.C.M.G. We're going to take a break. Come back and review Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the latest DC and Nickelodeon animated movie. We're going to talk about that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our A.C.M.G. content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things A.C.M.G.
Talk Time Live.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live.
Do it.
And now it's time for our talk topic of the week. Ready? Fight!
All right, folks, we are back with our talk topic of the week, and it is my review of Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the latest DC animation in collaboration and association with Nickelodeon, who owns the Turtle franchise. This is a crossover movie based on the actual comic book miniseries of Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from DC Comics and IDW Publishing. IDW Publishing also not only works with the Turtles, has the license for that, I believe they also have the license for Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. I believe mostly they invest in Saturday morning cartoon franchises, and they have comic book series for them out there. And for some reason, somebody thought of a great idea of bringing the Turtles together with Batman, and somehow they agreed upon it, and it worked. They've come out with multiple different miniseries involving the two, I guess, most popular franchises out there, Batman and the Turtles together. And they've had great series. This has been highly praised and highly reviewed by many comic book reviewers out there. So it was only inevitable in a matter of time that an animated movie was going to come out. You know, you just got to wonder, when they came out with this movie and they announced it, people were wondering, is this going to be more of a Batman type of thing? Because if it's a Batman type of thing, there's a shred of darkness and edginess to it. Or is this going to be a Turtles thing where this is going to come off like an episode of Scooby-Doo Mysteries with special guest Batman in the gang? So that played a factor in there. And if I got to tell you, if you haven't seen this yet, go out of your way to see it. It's the best of both worlds. Literally, they managed to bring both the fun light side and the dark edgy side of both of them, bring them together, which makes this possibly the most intense version of any Turtles anything that you've ever seen. So basically, this has the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles leaving New York to search for Shredder in Gotham, which means New York does exist in the world of DC. Shredder plans to work with Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, whichever how you pronounce it, in order to gain access to the Lazarus Pit. Ra's also is looking to use the mutagen, or ooze as Michelangelo loves to call it, to enhance the League of Shadows. So I love this because it's a simple plot. Simple plot with two McGovern items here that they both want, plain and simple, that can really enhance the power that they have to take over whatever it is they're taking over. Makes all sense to the world. Very simple. This leads the Turtles to team up with Batman, Batgirl, and Robin, the Damian Wayne version of Robin, by the way, in order to stop both of them from completing their plans. Now, it's a really simple storyline, and I love that. It just didn't have to be too deep. It didn't have to be convoluted. That's pretty much what it is. If you watch the Turtles, you know that they have mutagen, or ooze, that apparently mutates people, and Shredder tends to use that to create an army. Ra's al Ghul loves that idea. He wants it for the League of Shadows. Same thing with him. Shredder wants to be immortal. He wants to live forever, despite the defects that Ra's probably did not tell him about the Lazarus Pit. But he wants that immortality. So they're looking to work together and see if they can gel together, they can coexist if one doesn't screw the other. And you kind of see that throughout the movie as to how they gel with each other. So I like the concept. It's very simple. easy to follow. And just go ahead. So there's, of course, pros and cons that I have with this. I'm going to go over right now. More pros than cons in here. Definitely more pros than cons. Again, there's not one DC animated series or movie that I don't like. I can't even remember anyone that I don't like, to be honest. They've done so well. And, Nickelodeon, to some extent, does really good with their franchises, despite the fact of some issues I have with them. But for the most part, Oh, yes, I got to mention that too. Hopefully I won't forget this, but for the most part, they did really well together. They managed to try to blend the best of both worlds here. So the pros I have was that this is a really fun movie and lots of cool and surprising moments and interactions. Let me just say this. This is a Nickelodeon project as well with DC. DC is all pro everything. I mean, when it comes to character development, they don't care if you're gay, if you're black, white, whatever. You're a character in the show, and they have no problem embracing it. Nickelodeon in the past has had issues about that in the midst of the Legend of Korra situation, where because of the reveal that Korra was dating, I forgot the name of the other character, or fell in love with the other character, and they end up being together, that they wind up putting the series online because people's disdain for it. This was years before the LGBTQ community really reached out and brought awareness to equality. This was right in the midst of that. This was right near the end of that. And I think this is partly one of the things that was one of the catalysts of really bringing awareness and acceptance to equality of LGBTQ community. You know how long it took me to get that right and say that fluidly? That was like a tongue twister at a time. But, people was in an uproar against Nickelodeon about that. And there's a scene in this movie, a really small but distinctly noticeable scene, where they're in a pizza shop and before all this action comes in, there is a part in there where there's a woman breaking up with her girlfriend. And it's like a real comedy moment, but the significance of that is that they're embracing lesbian couples in this show, and I thought that was awesome. Despite the fact that the woman was breaking up with the other woman, and I really wish I remembered the joke that she said on there, because it was really funny. It was more like the woman was saying to her girlfriend, like, "It's not you, it's not me," or something like that. Or I think we should be apart, and the woman said, "I don't want to be apart. I can't be apart," or something like that. And it was crying through the whole thing. So, but the significance of that was that they are embracing, same-sex marriage, same-sex relationships in here. And I thought that was awesome. That's a big turnaround for Nickelodeon. Huge turnaround for Nickelodeon. It's happening more often now. I mean, just recently, the kids' cartoon author just embraced a gay marriage. It's happening, people. Whether you like it or not, deal with it. So, but I digress. There are moments. This has to be, in this movie, the most violent turtle movie ever. And that's saying a lot, because I believe the first movie by the Jim Henson movie way back in the late 80s and the 90s, people thought that was violent. People really thought that movie was too violent to be a Turtles movie. I mean, jeez, how things have changed. This one here, if you compare this one to that one, no. People are getting killed in this movie. Like, I've never seen anybody get killed in a Turtles movie before, ever. There's always been, like, teases of it, but nobody's... No. Shredder throws a shuriken at one of the Foot Clan's head, and you see blood coming out upon him doing it when Batman tries to, get answers from the Foot Clan. No, it's real. That moment right there set the tone of what was going to happen with this entire movie. And that also led to a really cool fight scene with Batman versus the Shredder. And much to my surprise, Shredder beat the living crap out of Batman. I mean, he took him down. And not only that, kind of a gangster move that Raj did, with Shredder did, he beat him down. And he said, "The next time I see your ass is dead," and walked away, and Batman ain't do a damn thing. I'm like, dude. To all you Bat religious fans out there, I know this is going to be a butthurt moment for you. I'm telling you now, this is not going to be good for you at all. So continuing on, we got Batman. To his credit, Batman, he brushes it off, and he does get some wins over the Turtles. However, so does Robin later on in the series too, when they first interact together. But eventually, they all become allies, as you would think, and against the bigger threat of Ra's and Shredder. And there's a lot of great interactions between them as well. So you got that, and then one of the most standout performances in here, as far as performances, I gotta give once again credit to the one and only Troy Baker. This guy is a phenomenal. I don't understand. This guy almost looks like Bradley Cooper. I was about to say Allison Cooper. Troy actually looks like Bradley Cooper when he behind the scenes. If you guys ever seen Troy Baker before, it's a great looking dude. I've only seen him portray voices only. I don't know what's the midst of that. I don't know. I've looked at his IMDb. I don't recall ever seeing anything he's been in live action. He's been involved in some of the most spectacular video games and animated movies or series out there. I mean, like, he is the top one of the top paid voice actors out there, next to Nolan North. And there's a reason why. Those two guys are absolutely outstanding. Just his level of voice, he could change it. I mean, if you've heard him before, he played Pain on Naruto Shippuden, and his voice is just so commanding. It just draws you in. Again, like I said, I've said this many times. The first time I really paid attention to him was when he did Infinity Blade 3 on the mobile games, and my goodness, that man is fantastic. So this is not the first time he's played Batman before. He's played Batman other times, I believe, possibly in another animated movie or series. But he also played the role of Batman, replacing Kevin Conroy on Batman Arkham Origins. If you guys remember that, which was like kind of a prequel to the Arkham series. And he did really good. He did good, but you could tell it wasn't Kevin Conroy. This movie, I couldn't tell the difference. I really personally couldn't tell the difference between whether that. I kept asking myself, and the bad part is I knew that it wasn't Kevin Conroy. I knew it was Troy Baker, and I couldn't tell because he matched it. He matched it really well. Like, if he really, God forbid, if he ever wanted to, set Kevin Conroy up for some reason, he damn near could get away with it doing his portrayal. It's crazy. He sounds absolutely uncanny to the Kevin Conroy portrayal here. He did tremendous here. It just stuck out so well. But he also plays the Joker as well, and he does a Hamill version of Joker. You could not as well as he does his Kevin Conroy version, but he does a great Joker. He does a really great Joker. He does it best to the respect of Mark Hamill. But I think he really stepped up his game with Batman this time around. It was really awesome. Not only that, his portrayal, it's just, this man can do no wrong. He's not done anything wrong. Brian George, if you know that name, if you recognize that name, he played Raj Cooper Polly's father in Big Bang Theory. He's on here as Alfred. I think this is not the first time he's played Alfred either. I think I've heard him play Alfred before on other animated series or movies and before. But he does great in here as well, especially when he interacting and dealing with Michelangelo. They have a lot of comedy moments in here as well. Tara Strong, if you know she's in here, most likely you also know that Harley Quinn is in here as well, so she does reprise a role as that, as well as Poison Ivy in this one as well. We also see other villains such as Mr. Freeze, Bane, the Penguin, and Two-Face throughout the movie in here. So there's a huge rogue gallery that the Turtles face out here, and a lot of things that develop within all of these guys, including the Joker, that mixes in with everything that's going on between Ra's and Shredder in here as well. So they managed to put all this together and make it work. The movie is well balanced with fun dialogue and pacing here. You could tell what parts Nickelodeon did and what parts were contributions of DC and Warner Brothers as well. So with that said, I do have a couple cons in here. While the animation was great for this movie and some of the character design was okay, it wasn't enough for me to really, when it comes to the Turtles at least, I felt that the character design for Batman was actually pretty good. Not nowhere as good as what they normally do. Like if you've seen the trailer for Hush or any of the other movies that they've done with Batman or the Justice League, no, doesn't compare to this. But the character design is just okay. And that part of it is mostly because of the Turtles. The animation definitely felt more like a Nickelodeon style than it did a DC animation style. And mostly because the Turtles, they when it comes to the Turtles, Nickelodeon, I don't know what they're doing. I think they're trying to be very artsy with the characters, with the character designs of the Turtles over the years. But I know for a fact, as a fan of the Turtles, and have been a fan since day one, when it came out on Saturday morning cartoons, the character design, and the fact that I used to love drawing the Turtles back then, whether it was the old comic version or the cartoon version. I loved drawing those. I absolutely loved that. I loved the character design about them. But as the years go by, as decades go by, we see a deterioration of the character design. It's like more diluted and dumbed down. It's just like I don't understand why they do this. And that's not saying anything about this movie. The character design in this movie for the Turtles is much better than their recent series that's out right now. I absolutely do not like it. I do not like that style at all. Just does not work with me. Of course, and the bad part is I'm older now, so it's like my opinion of it gives a rat's ass about it. But these new kids are like, they're looking at this now for the first time, and it's like, this is good for them. If they saw what we had back then when they first started, they would probably put out a petition their damn self about it. But it just doesn't live up. It just doesn't live up at all. If you see like the 80s cartoon, original 80s cartoon was so great. And then later on, years later, Fox Saturday morning cartoons did one which was okay. And it wasn't as good, but like if you look back now, if you compare it to the recent versions that has come out, that second generation version looked way better than this. I mean, it's like they just don't look like turtles anymore. They just look like blocks with shells on at this point. And it just went down. Like the best movie that I think that ever did a great character design that was outside of the 80s version was the WB CGI TMNT movie that came out, I think, in 2007. And it was done by the defunct animation company, A.C.M.G Animation Studio, which I so still disappointed to this day that company closed down. If you guys remember, A.C.M.G did some really, really great animated movies. They did Turtles, which was probably one of their best. They also did Astro Boy, which I thought it was okay. It wasn't like I liked it for what it was worth. It was good. I like the animated version of Astro Boy, and I think that was the last one that they did. But to those who didn't know or made know, if they stayed around long enough, they were in the path of doing Gatchaman, which looked really good. We got to at least see a trailer of Gatchaman at the time, and The Legend of Zelda, but which unfortunately both of them got canceled and they ended up closing their shop. And I don't know what the hell they're doing now. This is like A.C.M.G is like the animated studio version of Telltale Games. It's like they did so well, and then unfortunately they couldn't stay afloat. And I wish people were able to save A.C.M.G and those projects, like they are, like this company that's saving Telltale Games to finish the Walking Dead series again. Because man, I felt like this company had a lot to offer. I felt like they had a lot to offer, man. So, and then I guess the only other con or negative I had for this was Ben Gurax, if I'm pronouncing his name right. I hope I'm not butchering his name, but his role as Robin, the Damian Wayne of Robin, fell off for me. It really fell off for me because, and I don't want to blame him. I think his portrayal, his actual acting is not in question. It's the portrayal of it, which then possibly leads to the direction of how he was portrayed. So he's only doing his job here. He sounded convincing like a Robin, just not the Robin that I was expecting. His character portrayal felt more like Jason Todd at times more than Damian. I couldn't tell at times which version of Robin I was supposed to be looking at until later on when you've got the more pompous, snide comments of the two, the Damian Wayans versions, which I was like, okay, this is Damian. This is obviously Damian because Jason Todd doesn't make snide comments like that. He's a little bit sarcastic at times, but not like uppity at times. Stuart Allen, who has been playing the role of Damian Wayne throughout the first few DC animated movies, Batman versus Robin, not the Young Justice, but the Teen Titans versus Justice League, and he's been playing that role for quite some time. I love his portrayal. And his portrayal was no joke. He felt like he had a Vegeta-like presence for him. He absolutely he came off a lot more cocky and entitled with less humor than in Ben's portrayal. But Ben's portrayal was like, there was times he was like sarcastic and he was kind of jokey and comedy like, which is kind of more like Jason Todd's portrayal. But it was only like at the end it was like, okay, I guess that is Damian Wayans. So it was like I didn't really particularly like his portrayal. And it's not based on the acting of his acting ability as much as it was the character direction of it. So it didn't feel like the Damian Wayne that I've read in the comics or even saw in the recent other movies that we had Damian Wayne in there. So, but to me, it didn't take away from that. Those two things did not take away from the fun that I had with this movie. Overall, this movie is absolutely worth seeing for both Batman and Ninja Turtle fans. It was a fun ride from start to finish. Lots of Batman and Turtle fanfare going on here. Baxter Stockman is also in here as well. It was really cool to see in here. So all of it felt like everything mattered and it belonged in here. I loved it. There's a lot to gather and a lot more, as it appears that if you watch the end credits, there's going to be another one coming. And I won't spoil the end credits for you, but it's a lot of laughter going on at the end. So after watching this movie, I more than welcome a sequel for this, and I even love watching it again. It was just a lot of fun. It was very much a lot of fun, and they managed to mix the best of both worlds in there. So overall, I give it a B+. Definitely worth to see it. Character design and all kind of diluted, but it's still pretty damn good. It's a great story, fun story, simple story, and a lot of fun. A lot of great action in there, though, definitely. So, folks, that will do it for this edition of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Thank you guys so very much. Just want to give a big shout out to to a good friend and neighbor, DJ Cutman. A lot of you guys know him from the chiptunes scene out there and the the nerdcore scene out there. He actually is. I mentioned him before. He actually is not only a friend of mine, he's a neighbor of mine. We had the pleasure of, hanging out with him a few times. I've interviewed him. It was one of my earliest interviews ever. And the funny thing is, he is out there. Like, he is way out there. I remember when I used to work at the Alzheimer's Association, I used to listen to podcasts all the time. I was listening to Chris Jericho's podcast, and he had Xavier Woods in there. And if you guys know, Xavier Woods is a huge gamer. And in fact, he has his own really extremely popular series, Up, Up, Down, Down. And when Jericho asked what music he listened to, of all people that I hear him recommend, and the first person that comes out of his mouth immediately without like any mention, DJ Cutman. And I'm like, holy crap. And I immediately contacted him. I'm like, dude, you got to listen to the Chris Jericho podcast. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to hear that. That's really high praise coming from that realm. And this dude just lives up the street from me. This is how I live. I live in the realm of great talent. Shout out to Adam Shube as well, who's also neighbor of mine. He's a great pixel painting artist as well. Love those guys. And this is one of those times I'm just really blessed. And the reason why I mention it, it's because after meeting up with him and talking to him yesterday, you're going to hear a lot of his music on this show in the coming weeks because courtesy of Game Chops, I will be playing a lot of his new stuff, some of his old stuff, but I am now getting access to a ton of different music. So we're going to change things up. I don't even know if I may even change up the theme music for Select Start in this case when I start binging through his library, because he has an insanely huge library. He's constantly coming out with stuff. He does have a new album called Mario and Chill right now, which is really awesome as well. A lot of Nintendo related stuff. I remember getting his actual first album that I've ever come across was Meow Meow and Bow Wow, which was a great tribute to Zelda. One of the Legend of Zelda games. I believe it was Link to the Past, if I'm correct. But he's constantly doing it. He's very famous at this point in the nerdcore realm. And you're going to be hearing a lot from him. So, shout out to him. Good looking out, and thank you for him. And I will definitely have him on the show very soon. Definitely very soon. He's constantly doing a lot as well. So we're going to definitely, I'm very blessed to be able to have talented people like him, like Adam, be acquainted with them. All of the people who's been on this show, it's just been awesome. So stay tuned for that and much more. And again, this week we're going to have Select Start. I'm not sure if we're going to have the new music on there yet or whatever. He has a lot of library. I'm going to have to really check out and see what I'm going to use for have him shoot up to me. But we're definitely going to be having that as well this week. There's going to be some talk, maybe some new reviews coming as far as that, and some news going on in the gaming world. Next week, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to check out John Wick 3 this week, so I'm definitely going to mention and talk about what I thought about that next week, but I don't know if that's going to be a talk topic or not, whatever. So we'll see. There's a lot of things going on right now, and we'll see where it goes. Please keep continuing to follow us. You can follow me on Instagram at Xavier Josiah. You can also check me out on Twitter. Shout out to Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer on Wrestling Observer Radio, along with Dave Meltzer, for retweeting my tweet with the bro man himself, Matt Riddle, as he enters the ring from the NXT Philly show that I went to, and just awesome. So you can check me out on Twitter as well. I'm more on Instagram than I am on Twitter, but I still technically, go on Twitter whenever I have something to talk about there, check out. But mostly on Instagram as well. And I'm also on A.C.M.G. on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ACMG1. You could also listen to this show on TalkTimeLive.com, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and I believe Podbean as well. I feel like I always miss out one because there's so many damn outlets you can listen to the show now as well. And thank everybody for listening, no matter where you are, from the United States or around the world as well. So please keep us going. And again, you want to listen to some of the best names in all things anime, comics, movies, and games? Check out our exclusives page on TalkTimeLive.com, or go to TalkTimeLive.com/exclusives for that and much more. Folks, that will do it. On behalf of myself, this is Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. People, have a great week. It's going to be great in Philly. Take care.